So Weapons is out, and it's a movie I'm mostly whelmed with. I think there's definitely some parts that work really well here, and there are other parts that kinda don't. Overall, it's a fun and well-made movie, but hardly the movie I expected it to be, and one that grows more frustrating to think about as time goes on. Weapons is the latest project from everyone's favorite new horror darling, Zach Cregger, a comedy guy who kind of became an overnight sensation with his last film, Barbarian. Barbarian was an unbelievably silly and disgusting and crazy ride, managing to both confirm Zach still has it, comedy-wise, while also revealing this goofy little guy kinda had a little bit more up his sleeves than we first thought. Cregger's rise to horror stardom feels similar to what happened with Jordan Peele, someone who also started with comedy.
Interesting. European style.
Both men have now solidified themselves as some of the brightest new voices within not just the horror genre, but the movie industry as a whole. Peele pulled up with perhaps one of the strongest directorial and screenwriting debuts we've ever seen with Get Out, only to then go on and craft a weirder, wackier film with Us. A movie I really appreciate more than like. Peele's latest film, Nope, is probably his most divisive, but it's also my favorite. Something about the subject matter here is really compelling. Nope also features some gorgeous imagery and even more gorgeous performances. Nope was also probably the most intense and nauseating movie theater experience I've ever had, and that's something I'll always remember. However, where Peele has only gotten better in my eyes, Zach Cregger's latest film just didn't quite land as well as Barbarian did for me. Behind all of its mystery and basement shenanigans and goofy stuff,
and she ain't never came in this mother.
Barbarian was actually a fairly straightforward monster mash movie, but told in a somewhat disjointed, unique way. This is true for Weapons too, though I don't think it works as well here. The main focus of both movies switch a lot, though this happens much more in Weapons than Barbarian. Where Barbarian felt more than the sum of its parts, I can't really help feeling the opposite for Weapons. Weapons is a pretty simple story when you actually break it down. One random night at 2:17 in the morning, a group of kids wake up and leave their house, never to be seen again. These kids are all in the same school class, and their teacher, Justine, played by Julia Garner, kinda gets blamed or at least scapegoated for their disappearance. However, not all of the kids vanished. One kid, Alex, didn't disappear and actually showed up for class that morning. This is the basic premise and setup of the movie. You actually hear a kid recite basically what I just said.
And they never came back.
However, Weapons really isn't concerned with solving this central mystery as it is showing the effects it has on our main characters.
Now is the opportunity to put this all behind us. No one's coming back. These kids aren't coming back. I got news for you. I got news for the parents. Nobody's coming back. Okay? They're gone. What happened, happened.
I've seen several film buffs compare Weapons to Magnolia, as both films kind of take a segmented approach to storytelling. Instead of one linear narrative, we actually jump around between different characters here, finding out little bits of information along the way from their point of view. This is how Weapons gets away with holding so much information from the audience for so long, which is one of my main gripes with it. I was totally surprised, dumbfounded, flabbergasted to see a hard cut to black and the reveal that we were actually moving away from our main character Justine to a brand new person. This happens multiple times. Each time Weapons cuts to a different character, I became even more intrigued, but also more frustrated. Weapons kind of pushes its mystery to the side in order to really dive deep into these characters, a trade-off that works until it doesn't. Justine very much is the main character of Weapons, opposite Archer Gaff, played by Josh Brolin. These two characters are on completely different sides of things, with Justine shutting down and turning to alcohol due to the town essentially turning her into a piñata, and Archer being the one holding the bat. Everybody's mad at her, but no one can really quite explain how it would be her fault. Our introduction to Archer was when the movie really started to get going for me. Josh Brolin brings a cocky yet shaky and unsure bravado to Archer that makes him an incredibly compelling and interesting character to follow. He's essentially a cocktail of toxic masculinity, someone quick to accuse but slow to reflect. He's one of the parents who lost a child in the bizarre 217 vanishing, and he takes his anger out on Justine. In one sense, he's reprehensible and he's ugly, but at the same time, you kind of have to empathize with him a little bit. I mean, how would you feel if your child disappeared along with an entire classroom of kids? This dynamic between Justine and Archer is one of the strongest parts of Weapons by far, which makes its abrupt shift away from them halfway through the film kind of frustrating. This is the moment it becomes clear Weapons isn't as concerned with solving the mystery of the missing children as much as it is showing the effects grief has on a town and its people. Let's talk about characters, because this is by far the best aspect of Weapons. Like I said, we don't just follow Julia Garner here, as Zach Cregger takes a Magnolia Rashomon-style approach to storytelling. Weapons is broken up into different accounts of the same day/time from the point of view of Justine and Archer, as well as school principal Marcus, played by Benedict Wong, an incompetent town cop, played by Alden Ehrenreich, the kid, Alex, played by Kerry Christopher, and a junkie played by Austin Abrams. Each one of these characters are a joy to spend time with. They all feel real and lived in and hardly stereotypical. Sure, Archer is written as your typical manly man.
Because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy.
I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
But there's so much more to him under all of these facades. Archer is a deeply broken person, a parent longing for his son to return. He's depressed, he's tired, and he's messing up at his job. Archer is also having nightmares because of the situation, one of which we get to see. This scene, save for 2 other moments, is my favorite in the entire movie. In his nightmare, we follow Archer as he wanders around his house and outside. He's clearly obsessed with finding out where his son went, but he has nothing to go on. Now, I know I was not the only person who assumed Weapons would be some sort of commentary on school shootings, but what if I told you Weapons has nothing to say about this at all? Would you believe me? Practically nothing in this film even faintly hints toward gun violence, aside from this one nightmare scene with Archer. After frantically searching for his son outside, Archer finally arrives back at his front door to find a massive CGI AR-15 floating above his house. This bizarre moment is played completely straight, and Archer actually rests his eyes on the gun for a few seconds. The gun eventually turns into an alarm clock, which reads 2:17, the time when Archer's son and the rest of the class vanished. Holy I thought to myself, we're actually in for an all-timer here. This moment is so strange, and it's completely out of left field for this movie up to this point. It's such a weird and bizarre stylistic choice from Zach Cregger, who even he can't really seem to explain why it's in the film. It's just such a weird moment. Not only for the fact that it's a giant floating gun, but it kind of looks, I don't think cheap is the right word, but it just looks weird and it looks uncanny. It really is creepy. But this is the one and only deliberate allusion to school shootings and gun violence, at least from my understanding, in the entire film. By no means am I bashing Zach Cregger for making the movie he wanted to make. A film is always a success as long as the creator made what they wanted to. But really? A movie called Weapons, where a bunch of kids in the same school class all go missing, doesn't actually have anything to say about gun violence or school shootings or anything? Here lies my main problem with the film. The first 2/3 of Weapons are kind of masterful, weaving a complex web around a rather simple premise. Zach Cregger presents a cast of characters strong enough to lead an Apple TV prestige drama for a good 4 to 5 seasons, as they all attempt to unravel a truly horrific mystery. But little do they know, they're all actually stuck in a goofy monster movie. We eventually find out that Gladys, played by Amy Madigan, is behind all of these shenanigans. By my calculations, we're introduced to Gladys roughly 8/14 of the way through the film and are immediately informed she has the power to control people's minds. It's a surprising reveal for sure, but is that it? Let me be clear. This is all fine and okay, and actually it's great. It's just not the film I was expecting, nor is it the one Weapons presented itself as. I think my actual problem here is Cregger's need for explanation. All of the mystery and intrigue and creepiness is sucked up once we learn what, or rather who, is behind these kids going missing. This all isn't just explained but shown and told in great detail. Weapons seems unsure or at least conflicted on whether it wants to be a disturbing horror mystery or a balls-to-the-wall fairy tale gone wrong. It kind of just splits the difference in its final act, where it reveals every single card it was holding and every single detail and secret, and transforms from a horrid tale of child tragedy into a bold and silly schlockfest.
Splatter spree.
I love well-executed schlock, and I think Barbarian did this really well. Both films kind of do the same thing, where they switch from creepy horror thriller to over-the-top gore fest.
She ain't never came to this motherfucker.
But Weapons is simply not as gnarly nor as compelling as Barbarian, and I think its silver-plattered crowd-pleaser ending does a disservice to its glorious first two acts. I want to clarify, I think Weapons is a very, very good movie, and I would happily take a million Zach Cregger movies over whatever the that new Conjuring movie is. There's so much to like here. Moving back to characters, Austin Abrams completely steals the show. He plays the junkie here, and if I didn't know he was an actor, I would have thought Cregger just stunt cast the role. Abrams is perfect as a Timothée Chalamet type gone wrong, someone with greasy hair and even greasier skin, just itching, literally, for his next fix. I've really liked Abrams since seeing him in Euphoria, where I also think he stole the show a lot. I'm confident in saying Abrams is one great role away from being Twitter's next self-prescribed white boy of the year. Maybe Weapons is his ticket there. Regardless, I hope to see more of him soon after this. Amy Madigan is outstanding as Gladys too. The witch aunt that takes control over the kids and essentially the entire town is scary and funny and really off-putting. I get it, she's using kids and people as weapons. Gladys wears a bright red wig and enough powder to make the camera guy from Lost Highway blush.
Don't you remember? No. No.
It's fascinating to find out how Gladys fits into the puzzle here, but the trade-off is that Weapons loses its steam and its central mystery. Reading this back, I think I sound more negative than I actually am toward this film. I'm actually begging you, please, use your hard-earned money to see Weapons in the theater. See it multiple times. Please give Zach Cregger your money. I think Weapons is a case of adjusting expectations, however. Zach Cregger delivers a fantastic detective drama thriller that's coated in creepy and bizarre horror furnishings. But this is not David Fincher, it's Sam Raimi. Like I said, Weapons has several awesome moments, like the floating AR-15. Weapons also has an incredibly effective scare moment, one that legitimately gave me chills in the theater. It was horrifying. Regardless of what you feel about Cregger, his background in comedy, much like Jordan Peele, gave him something that's crucial for any horror movie. Timing. The scares really work here. The emotional parts really work too. There's satisfying gore and violence and everything feels extremely weighty. Just don't approach Weapons as an esoteric piece of horror fiction. Think of Weapons more as a twist on a Grimm Brothers story and I think you'll be just fine. I'm not trying to say Weapons isn't about anything. Weapons is very much about something, and this is obvious after hearing from the writer and director himself. Weapons was created in the wake of the death of Trevor Moore, Zach Cregger's friend and former comedy partner. The two worked together on a number of projects ranging from skits to full-on feature films. Weapons came out of this really dark time for Cregger, which I think is obvious when you're watching the movie. He said writing Weapons was like vomiting. In hindsight, it's clear that Weapons is a very personal tale of grief and exploration of how ugly things can get when you lose someone. The creepy vibes and scary images are all secondary to this story about grief and how it wrecks people. However, Weapons is kind of like following a bunch of weird, convoluted clues only to discover the X on your treasure map is in your backyard. The simplest answer is the true one. I just think something gets a little bit lost in translation when you've got a movie so deep and personal for the creator, who also just kind of wants to have fun and get weird with it at the end of the day. While I feel like the two halves of Barbarian kind of fit together, I think that Weapons feels like two different movies put together. It kind of reminds me of what happened with Longlegs, a movie that positioned itself as a new, really dark mystery thriller. Only to throw a curveball at you and become an entirely different beast. Now, I definitely like Weapons better than Longlegs. I just think it's interesting that we have two movies here that go for a really dark, pitch black vibe and then twist things and kind of look back at the audience and laugh a little bit. But overall, I was slightly disappointed in this one. I think deep down there is something really special, really magical about Weapons. Definitely a fun time at the movies, but I can't help but feel slightly disappointed by what we are left with. Actually, I think frustrating is a better word. I found myself constantly questioning what was going to be happening, how things would connect, and then when they did, it really wasn't that satisfying. The actual true ending, the ending of this movie is satisfying. It's great. It's awesome. It's hilarious. But like I said at the beginning, I think Weapons is kind of less than the sum of its parts. I think it has really great scenes, really great moments, good scares, good violence. A little dark, actually, in moments. I couldn't see a lot in the dream sequence and the other moments that took place at night. Maybe this was just a problem with my theater. It sucks, so that very much could be the case. But yeah, Weapons is a solid time at the movies. Horror fans are going to like it. Zach Cregger fans are going to like it. Hot dog lovers, you guys are going to love this movie. So go see it. Support original movies. Support cinema. Zach Cregger, we will be watching. Austin Abrams, we will be watching.